So more and more, I'm actually realizing the importance of gut health. I first started trying to improve my gut health back in 2022 when I got sick after, well, the whole Corona thing. And then just constant inflammation of the body, which later turn into also gut inflammation and enteritis, which is basically inflammation of the small intestine, which I was in the hospital for a couple of days, I think. And after that, I of course tried to rebuild my gut health. I had a natural practitioner help me with that. She really helped me out a lot, I must say. But then you start getting into things like probiotics and different diets and eating a lot of fiber and such. And what I then quickly realized was the enormous influence that the gut had on me as a person. So on my functioning at my work, like so mental clarity, focus, energy, but also on my how I was feeling. So just maybe confidence and happiness and so on. And to that, I also realized that it is very difficult to influence the gut because there's so many different probiotics and things you could take and different strains, and this probiotic has this amount of bacteria, and then all these different just these names that you don't even know what these do, you know. And you take this probiotic and you're like, well, should be good. You don't really notice anything. Or what could also happen is that you might see you're looking for probiotics online. You see, well, this person has been taking this probiotic. Let me test it out. It's working for this person. And then you test it, and then it completely backfires on you. So you actually feel much worse. I personally never had this, but I've read quite a lot of stories on Reddit where people seem to backfire on probiotics and get some pretty bad reaction from this. I think this mostly has to do with the fact that our gut biomes, our gut microbiomes, are so inherently different from one to another. And I think it starts right it might actually start in the womb when you're still a baby and you're getting the food from your mother. I think it starts right then. But you form your gut microbiome through the things you eat, right? So the bacteria that is in my gut microbiome might be very different from what's in yours. So I might then react very differently to different kinds of foods, different kinds of supplements, different kinds of probiotics than you might. And even though, and this is also what made me realize that even though gut health is so very important, I at the moment cannot really seem to find a proper way to include it into the protocol because I couldn't really tell you. I can just give you general advice, like maybe, okay, eat your fiber, do not eat a lot of processed foods. But I couldn't really tell you to take this probiotic or try this out. And one thing I've been noticing researching all of this is just the sheer amount of people having gut dysfunction. And there's so many different terms for it. So you have IBS, right, which is irritable bowel syndrome, which is a syndrome. So it's not really a diagnosis. It is a diagnosis, but it's not an objective one, right? So there's no test that will give you IBS. It's more like, oh, you have these symptoms, they overlap with IBS. Okay, you've got IBS now. And then there's different forms of IBS. And then you have, of course, the bacterial overgrowth, so the SIBO kind of things. just massive amounts of subreddits, people in there talking about their complaints, what helped, what didn't help, people for years having complaints with their guts. And I don't know if this is something that is it's definitely very, at the moment, it's definitely very prevalent. But I am not sure if this is something that has been created through the lifestyle that we nowadays live, or that this has always been there. Because, I mean, I should probably ask my parents, but I don't really think that 40 years ago, 80 years ago, there was this much gut dysfunction. It must have to do with the things that we're taking into our body. Perhaps also some environmental factors that are influencing our health and our gut health. But I quickly researched a bit of this, and it seems that processed foods and also just the sheer amount of pesticides that are being used on non-organic foods are extremely toxic to our guts. I read it was something like you're basically taking in an antibiotic dose, like a small antibiotic dose, of course, every time you eat a non-organic pesticide spray food. This is why I try to eat organic. And perhaps I will make that recommendation in the protocol to eat organic. It's much more, it is more expensive. In a lot of cases, actually double the price. But I think this is one of the things that is, I try to always look at what is 80-20. So what gives you 80% of the benefits for, like, I think it means like 20% of the effort. And in my opinion, eating organic foods is really, when you look at diet, eating organic is really up there in the 80-20 compared to perhaps eating something like grass-fed. Even though this is also very important, eating regular beef is also still healthy, right? It's not like they sprayed just a ton of toxic compounds on the beef. That's not what happened. I'll just give you a bit of an anecdote. So for the past couple of days I've changed my diet up. I was getting less fiber, so then I added a fiber supplement to my stack about just 3 days ago, and now I somehow feel way better. And I don't want to make this channel about me just naming supplements and then you try the supplement. That's kind of what I'm criticizing in myself. So I won't do that, but it did make me also think about the influence the gut has on the brain, so the gut-brain axis. I am pretty sure what's made in the gut, so a lot of serotonin is also made in the gut. I'm pretty sure it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier to have an effect on the brain state. But there is a gut-brain axis, I think through the vagus nerve, so there's a lot of signaling back and forth. And it's such a complex topic, but such an important one. And then you can also, when the gut microbiome isn't perhaps the way you would like it to be, you could have bacteria in there that are actually, say you eat a food. Okay, the food gets into the gut, and this bacteria then ferment it, and it could either be good bacteria that extract good things out of it and actually create good things from it that's beneficial to your body, but there could also be bad bacteria in there, which you obviously want to limit. But this bacteria could then take this healthy food, this natural food that you need, and turn it into something less positive for the body. for example, ammonia or just sulfur, so you're getting a lot of gas and stuff like that. I will be looking more into the gut for the protocol, but like I said, it's an extremely complex but interesting topic. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the gut, so just leave me a comment, and yeah, thank you for watching.